Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield touring the world, talking to the people who have the most interesting restaurants and the best bars and the most unique properties and hotels in the world. And Caroline Drayton is the Director of Public Relations at the St. Pancras Hotel, which is a Renaissance hotel, and it is unique and tremendous and wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Good morning, Alex. Pleasure to have you.
We're sat here at the moment in this glorious temple of history, really. That's what it is. It's a hotel, it's a bar, it's a restaurant, but we're sat in history. That's what makes this place so remarkable.
Absolutely, and I think this was the excitement when we reopened back in May last year. Anyone who spent any time in London at all has known this building externally for decades and decades, but since the original hotel closed in the 1930s, apart from a fortunate few, no one's had access inside. So hence the reason that there was this, huge excitement and curiosity, I think, more than anything, as I say, when we opened last year.
I'm fascinated by planes and trains and the history that goes with it. Normally, wherever there's an old train station, there's a glorious hotel. The trouble with that is these glorious hotels are impossible to maintain and very expensive to renovate. No expense was spared with this, and it took years and years and years. And my God, has it been worth it? Because this is now such a shrine and a tribute to the history of the station.
Absolutely, and I think this is one of the most important factors is, as you say, when the hotel was first built, it was very much built in conjunction with the station, and to see both the station to a certain extent and even more so the hotel fall into such disrepair during the large part of the 20th century was, very sad to see. So with the huge renovation that went on with St. Pancras International Station reopening in 2007, and then the huge work that went into the hotel, which, as you say, was a huge project. It really all kick-started in 1996, and for the hotel to, open in 2011, that is a huge development. But equally, the results are you've got this extraordinary station and hotel now restored and reopened in the Victorian glory as they were always kind of meant to be.
We'll talk about the history of the building in a moment, but what I love about it, you're not trying to hide the fact that this is a train station hotel. You embrace it, and in fact you celebrate it. As we sit here at the moment, we're in the Chambers Club, and the windows behind us overlook St. Pancras Station, which in itself is so glorious, and it's exciting because there's always something happening with the train station. There's an energy, isn't there?
Absolutely, and when the station reopened in 2007, there was a huge focus on ensuring, that kind of the correct brands, restaurants, bars and everything kind of came into it, as well as restoring the extraordinary architecture. And as you say, that's something that we wanted to fully embrace, because in essence, the original architect, Sir George Gilbert Scott, was responsible for not only this hotel, but also, the whole structure which surrounds the station. As I'm sure you will have seen wandering around, not only where we are now in the Chambers Club, is there a view straight into the station, but most especially you've got a handful of bedrooms, 6 or 7 bedrooms, which have this extraordinary view, again, straight into the station. And as you say, because it's something we want to celebrate, it is a station hotel at the end of the day.
And we should say this building is enormous. Give us some facts about how big it is. I mean, you can't miss it. For example, if you're coming into King's Cross or St. Pancras, which are virtually adjoined, you can't miss this building. There's a huge clock tower, and it is as big and as grand and as magnificent as a building could be.
Absolutely. As you say, walking down kind of, Euston Road, it's very easy when you're giving directions because it's not a building you're going to miss. In essence, it fronts the entire station. So even if people aren't familiar with this station, people know the size of train stations generally, so to imagine this whole building is the front of a train station gives you an idea of its scale. As you pointed out as well, we have this extraordinary clock tower, which I don't know if you know is actually a private apartment, and yes, so it's absolutely kind of unmissable. The best views though, which I've seen, I haven't had a chance to experience myself, but I have seen aerial photography of the area recently, and again, even with all the redevelopment of King's Cross as a whole, this is still, without a doubt, the most iconic structure that sits within this area.
What also is great is that you've brought back to life an entire area. Let's face it, 10, 15, 20 years ago, this was not the most glamorous area in London. This is a focal point for people to come and visit. I mean, just seeing the reception area right now, people come here, it's like a museum.
Absolutely. And, as kind of, all of us often say to, kind of guests and visitors, it is kind of part cathedral, part museum, part art gallery, but, ultimately a hotel. And yes, people do come from, all lengths of the world, literally, not just London, to come and experience this. And what's particularly special about this hotel, and I think very necessary, is I think we're the only hotel in the world which has our own resident historian and tour guide. So Royden Stock will conduct 3 to 4 tours of the building a day, due to kind of its history, and also more importantly, the reason he's there is because of the intrigue surrounding it and the amount of people who want to learn more about it. Going back to what you were saying about the area as a whole, it is exciting, and it was kick-started really with, as I keep on referring back to, the regeneration of the station, but there is this huge master plan for King's Cross, which will go on into the future. Really exciting things like Central St Martin's whole campus has moved into the area. You've got restaurants opening left, right and centre, significant art gallery openings, media like The Guardian and The Observer moving their offices in, and there is just, you feel with King's Cross at the moment, it really is kind of the beating heart of the city, and so it's hugely exciting for us to be a part of all of that. Interesting facts and figures, the new Piazza Square that's now up and running in front of Central St Martin's competes with Trafalgar Square in size. King's Boulevard is the first important road in over 100 years to be built in London, so that's what's going on in this area, and it's exciting for us that we were at the start of that, but then equally we'll be an important part of it in the future as well.
I know it's crude to talk money, but you mentioned earlier one of the private rooms that have been sold here, apartments, penthouse suites. Word on the street was one went for nearly £9 million. To renovate a building like this, did we ever get to a figure of what this cost?
Absolutely. So the hotel was renovated at a cost of £150 million, the whole building at a cost of £200 million.
I mean, it's an extraordinary amount of money in the worst recession in history, at a time when you would expect that hotels are struggling. In fact, it's the reverse. It seems like high-end hotels are actually doing better than ever before. Absolutely. And there's the market for it in London. And I think, King's Cross is a perfect example of a very, very up-and-coming area. If you look at the London 5-star luxury hotel market as a whole, over the course of, the kind of previous 2 years, and again going on for the next 18 months, it's a hugely exciting time. There are a lot of 5-star hotel openings, and, in my opinion, it makes London one of the most kind of exciting leisure and business destinations in the world right now. Welcome back to Celebrity Radio, celebrating the incredible St Pancras Hotel. It's here just at King's Cross Station, and of course St Pancras just behind us with the Eurostar. We're here talking to Caroline Drayton, who's the Director of Public Relations, and of course with Eurostar being here, this is an international hub. A lot of foreign visitors arrive here at King's Cross and St Pancras, and this is the first thing they see. Pretty magnificent, isn't it?
Absolutely, and there's an argument that some people call it the gateway to London, other people call it the gateway to Europe, depending on which way you look at it. But yes, to be attached to an international station, and as you say, with the huge number of international visitors coming in from either France or Brussels, is absolutely fantastic for us. What's particularly exciting at the moment is we have actually just confirmed with Eurostar that our concierge 6 or 7 members of our concierge team have now been cleared through Eurostar security. What this means is that we're able to offer our guests a VIP Eurostar transfer service. For any of our guests staying in the chambers specifically, if we know they're travelling on to Paris, Lille or Brussels, a member of our concierge team can collect them from their room or suite just 30 minutes before and escort them straight through the station, straight through security, and deliver them right onto the train with their luggage. And so it's obvious that we'd be working very closely with Eurostar, but it's particularly exciting for us at this time that that's a service that has just been secured and that we can offer.
And equally, for those who are travelling on East Midlands trains to the north, you can be there within 4 minutes from where we're sat currently?
Absolutely. I mean, you can almost see the train out of your bedroom.
Incredible. Let's talk about the rooms then. You very kindly put me in one of your Chambers rooms, which is attached to the Chambers Club. Decadent, incredible. The first thing that strikes you is the ceiling. I know that might sound ridiculous, but they're so high because, of course, in these old buildings, I believe the history is that the posh people enjoyed staying at the bottom, not the top, like they do now. So therefore, the rooms were most magnificent on the lower floors. Is that true? Absolutely.
So the first floor where you were staying, Alex, the ceilings were 18 feet in height. And going back to what you said, absolutely. On the lower floors of the hotel is very much where, kind of the higher end of guests will stay. And at the top of the building were essentially the servants' quarters. From a design and architectural perspective, what's particularly interesting and kind of going back to the original architect, Sir George Gilbert Scott, is the ceiling height reduces by exactly 2 feet the higher up the building you go. So with the hotel sitting on the lower 3 floors of the building, yes, you've very much got the height of the grandeur of, the original Victorian hotel.
As great as this building is, it presents so many problems in renovation because you can't touch very much of it. You certainly can't touch the outer structure. Did that make it difficult in turning this into a 2012 modern 5-star hotel?
Absolutely. Again, as I say, this building hadn't been really touched since the 1930s. British Rail had used the building under various different guises at the time for offices, but it hadn't been functioning as a hotel since the 1930s. The fantastic thing about it is that it was granted Grade 1 listed status back in 1967, which meant that structurally it hadn't been altered. So what this gives you is all the rooms, all the suites, all the public spaces are structurally exactly as they were back in the original hotel, because no walls have been able to be knocked down. As you said, there are various issues that came up, but I guess one of the prime examples which you may have noticed in your room is that the building originally didn't have any. It had 5 public bathrooms, and so obviously to input bathrooms into every single room and suite where you can't knock down walls causes a structural issue. So where the developers work very, very closely with the architects and the designers is to create this very clever way of bringing the bathrooms actually into the rooms in a structure which, you tell me whether or not you kind of noticed it or not, but in my opinion it's been done seamlessly.
Absolutely beautifully, and you sort of go upstairs to the bathroom. You walk into the main living area, if you like, because there's a desk and there's the TV, of course, which are all modern conveniences as you need in hotels now. But the elegance has been retained, and of course that's down to the furnishings and the way you do that. A lot of planning's gone into everything, hasn't it? From the cushions to the wallpaper to the colour of the wallpaper. There's so many things to think about. That's what always amazes me about where do you start when putting a hotel like this together?
Absolutely, and that's certainly a question for the extraordinary kind of owner and developer, Manhattan Loft Corporation. But I think the key underlying thing in everything you've spoken about is the fact that, yes, you've got this extraordinary Victorian building which you want to preserve as much as possible, but equally you've got a 21st century hotel. And as much as Victoriana is beautiful and wonderful, it's not appropriate. It wouldn't be appropriate in this day and age to have everything fitted, in the Victorian way. And so, it is an extraordinary feat by the designers and the interior designers and the architects to ensure that whilst you have modern contemporary amenities and furnishings, they have to fit with the surroundings. And I'm biased, of course, but it's something that they have done exceptionally well, but was an extraordinarily hard task to be able to execute.
And of course you have the spa and you have the gym, and of course you have restaurants as well, which you have to have now, and bars. Last night I had a wonderful dinner at the booking office, which is again so unique, partly because of the space, mostly because of the space in fact. I mean, food is food. It's all about the dining experience as they describe it today, and you have one of the most unique in Britain, in the world. Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much. Well, the booking office, by its very name, the reason it's called the booking office is because it was the original booking office, ticket office of the station, whether you're coming in from the hotel side or the station side, you'll see very clearly etched in stone booking office. So we weren't going to play havoc with the name very much. So what you've got, as I say, is the original ticket office within the station, and fantastically what you've also got in there is the original ticket booth, which is considered so important architecturally. The ticket booth is actually Grade 1 listed in its own right. For those of you who haven't visited, it's where kind of the bar is positioned in the room, and you've got the original kind of windows where passengers would buy their tickets, you know, these huge vaulted ceilings. And again, like every aspect of the hotel, the design detail that's gone into that room, or should I say went into that room back in the 19th century with the wood paneling. You've got 173 diamonds in there. The flower in the middle of each diamond, each one is completely unique. And, you know, to come up with 173 designs for flowers, it just is another example in this building where, you know, the original architects and designers went above and beyond, as we like to think we've done, you know, now.
I don't know about you, but when you sit there, Caroline, and eat in the booking office, you can't help but think of all the people who have gone through there over many, many years. There's an incredible atmosphere and a sense of history as you're sat there, and you've encapsulated that. It would have been very easy to ruin it. The wrong mood, the wrong lighting, the wrong atmosphere could have ruined the entire feel of the restaurant.
Absolutely. And again, going back to design and furnishings, you know, we put a very kind of strong focus on that. But, you know, other things, I know you say that kind of food is food and drink, and, you know, and I do agree to that to a certain extent, but just other things that we've added to the whole experience. So, for example, my mixologists in the booking office tell me that actually in their kind of research when they were setting up the bar, that cocktails, in fact, were invented in the Victorian era. So they went back to the original kind of Victorian cocktail recipes. The perfect example being punches. Punches were hugely popular during the Victorian era. So that's something that the mixologists have gone back, looked to see what they were doing. As we all know, not everything they did in the Victorian times is 100% suitable for eating and drinking nowadays, but they've certainly used it very much as the basis for a lot of their recipes. And also what you'll see on the bar is these kind of extraordinary handmade copper punch bowls line the bar with these kind of fantastic Victorian recipes, but it's done in such a way that it gives any visitor to the booking office an added experience rather than making it throwing the whole Victorian message kind of too in your face.
And it was fun as well. I mean, last night I had a rum punch to begin, and it just gets you in the mood for an evening of great fun and entertainment. And I know at the weekends, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you have live entertainment there now. So again, you're mixing the new with the old, which people seem to love. I mean, I spoke to the manager last night, and he said it's far beaten any expectation for numbers. People are coming here just because of the atmosphere.
Absolutely, and obviously the fact that it's, you know, very much attached to the station, there is an entrance direct in from the station, you know, helps all of that, but it has exceeded all expectations. And I think what's kind of even more extraordinary about it is if you look at its opening times, which again is very unique in London, is it is open from 6:30 in the morning until 3 o'clock in the morning. So actually there's far fewer hours that it's closed than when it's open. And pretty much from 6:30 in the morning when you start doing the kind of the breakfast runs through into kind of daytime, all day dining, into the evening and until the much later night, the place is absolutely buzzing, and it's hugely exciting for us as a hotel, you know, to see that.
And again, it's mixing that old with new. You've got to keep up with the times to bring in the younger crowd, because ultimately this has got to have a future as well as a past.
Absolutely. And, you know, again, going back to kind of, you know, the whole area, that's the amazing thing about it. You know, King's Cross St Pancras Underground Station is so well positioned that, again, if you go back to looking at the evenings in the booking office, you know, anyone who's working in the city, anyone who's working kind of Oxford Circus way, it's very, very easy for them to come here for pre-dinner. It's very easy for them to come here for kind of after work drinks. It's easy to meet here for, dinner, cocktails in the evenings. But then equally, because of the whole area that we're sitting in, as you say, we'll get a lot of the kind of much younger crowd as well. And, you know, we welcome that and we embrace it.
And for those travelling in from the north who maybe haven't been before, it's just a few minutes walk into Leicester Square, 10-15 minutes. You're right there in the centre of the West End for your show, so you could come here for a pre-theatre dinner. It's perfectly located, and it saves going on the Underground, and there's a benefit in itself.
Absolutely. As I say, yes, it's very easy to get anywhere on the Underground, but equally you are kind of walking distance to, many of London's kind of key attractions.
Caroline, I could talk to you all day, but two final things I want to mention are the staircases. I don't think you can have a magnificent building without a great staircase, and as we sit here, there's a very nice one, but this is nothing compared to the other end of the building. Tell me about your grand staircase, which is just an attraction in itself. It's worth coming in just to see your staircase.
Well, as you say, the grand staircase is, probably kind of the centerpiece of the whole building. It's absolutely beautiful, cantilevered staircase. Many will argue that, it is the most majestic, if not one of the most majestic in the country. I think for us, what's particularly interesting about the staircase is really what a visitor to the grand staircase now witnesses is almost exactly what a visitor in the 19th century would have witnessed. The reason I say this is because obviously the architecture of the staircase is completely original, but more importantly, things like the tiling on the ground floor is original. The carpet on the staircase is an exact replica of the original carpet. We know that because we found scraps when we started redeveloping, so we were able to completely recreate it. The fleur-de-lis pattern on the walls is a 1901 pattern, so it's just amazing. It really does, more than any other part of the hotel, I think, kind of sweep you into that kind of history. The other thing is that Sir George Gilbert Scott, the original architect, before he moved on to buildings like this, the Albert Memorial, the Foreign Office, he was an ecclesiastical architect. He worked on over 800 churches and cathedrals in his lifetime, and you really get that sense of kind of the ecclesiastical sense when you get to the grand staircase with the vaulted ceiling, the arches, and yes, it has to be, without a doubt, kind of the centerpiece of the whole hotel.
The great thing about staying here, obviously you get a great room, obviously there's great food. If you're lucky enough to go in the Chambers Club, there's wonderful hospitality and great drinks and canapes before dinner. But you are part of almost a theatrical production. The grandeur of this building, you feel it everywhere you walk. There's no escape from the grandeur of the St. Pancras Hotel, is there? It's
interesting that you refer to it as a theatrical production, because we want to ensure that, our guests, do get caught up in kind of the moment in the history of it all, and whether that be a focus for us before we opened on things like the uniforms, the doorman's uniforms, concierge's uniforms. There's very much visually a reference back to kind of the train uniforms of the Victorian era. When you go to sleep, bedtime stories are put kind of on your pillow, which tell you more about the history and things like that. But, I think the most important thing for us is it is a sense of theatre, but not one that has been created for the guests, but simply shows off the history, which is the primary undercurrent of everything we do at the hotel.
And equally as magnificent as it is today, it would have been that good back in the day when it originally opened. I mean, this was built for splendour.
Oh, absolutely. And back in the 19th century, when all of the railways were privatised, and so wherever you built a station, you built a station hotel. That's what the railways did back then. But this was a railway hotel of a completely different level. And in essence, actually what this was the Midland Railway showing off about what a fantastic railway company they were. Look how we can take the most eminent Victorian architect of the times, look what we can build, look what we can produce. And also it was a fantastic advertisement for the Midland Railway, because all of the materials that you see kind of throughout the hotel were from the Midlands. So it was them also saying to the rest of the world, look at what the Midlands can produce.
Well, I've stayed in many hotels around the world, and this has been such fun. The epitome of decadence, the epitome of magnificence as well, and a thoroughly enjoyable experience. I recommend anybody who's coming into London. It's so convenient, whether you're staying at Euston, coming into Euston, King's Cross or St. Pancras. It's right here and so close to the West End, and it means you don't have to get on the Underground, which is a blessing. Thank you for having me. This is really a tremendous place to come and see. Even if you don't stay here, just come and have dinner or have a look around, because you'll be more curious. The more you see, the more you want to see, and the grand staircase really is tremendous. And thank you for a wonderful stay. Caroline Drayton is the Director of Public Relations here at the St. Pancras Hotel. What is your website?
www.stpancrasrenaissance.co.uk.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Alex. It was a pleasure to have you.